Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of informative series at Tyr ITF Taekwon-Do. Today, we're going to be learning how to create a proper forefist, otherwise known as upjumuk in Korean, for use in our Taekwondo techniques. Punching is a huge part of our martial art. We must know how to punch properly. To do so, we must know how to utilize our forefist correctly. So, in order to form a proper forefist, to utilize our front two knuckles, which are our attacking tool properly, we must first start out with a relaxed hand. Then we have to curl in our four main fingers nice and tight into the palm. From there, we must tuck in our thumb over top of our index and middle finger and press down nice and strong on the thumb. Pressure is out on the fingers, so our front two knuckles are the first ones making contact. Now, on top of the correct way of making forefist, over my years of instructing, I have seen many incorrect ways of executing it. The following are some examples of ways not to create a proper forefist for punching. First method that I've seen very commonly, especially with very new members, tucking the thumb underneath the fingers. Now, why this is very dangerous is if you make a proper connection, you punch a solid object, not only are your fingers not fully tightened, you have your thumb in a position of pressure. So if you make contact, you'll very likely break your thumb joint, or at the very least sprain it severely, which is not what you want when you do an attack in Taekwondo. Next method, fingers tucked nice and tight, thumb is slightly extended forward. Similar problem as before, however this time, because your thumb is extended beyond the range of your fingers, when you decide to do your punch, first thing that makes contact is, of course, your thumb. And that is not a very good thing, because same thing again, you'll be connecting with the tip of your thumb, very high possibility of spraining your thumb joint, or breaking it altogether. One of my personal least favorites as an instructor, people who spar a lot, who wear the sparring gear all the time, have this tendency to create air gap in the hand, something that I like to call sparring gear hand. So if you have a nice air gap, doesn't matter if it's big or if it's small, if you make contact with an object, because the digits in your hand are not nice and tight, acting as a solid object, moment you make connection with an object, all of your fingers will collapse and your thumb will collapse, resulting in possibly broken fingers, injured finger joints, or possibly even a bruised or broken palm from the impact of your fingers coming back into it. Keep it nice and tight. As a solid object, much less likely to get injured that way. Next version. So the fingers are nice and tight, but instead of the thumb being tucked over top of the index and middle finger, it's focused just on the middle finger solely. So this way, you're losing your point of focus for your punch, and now your finger digit on the index is now in a compromised position. So when you are making a connection with an object, you increase your likelihood of injuring this particular part of your hand. And of course, you're losing power from your punch at the same time. Then of course, we have our next incorrect method, which is fingers being extended underneath the palm and the thumb just extended over top. So again, we're in a position now where our hand is not properly tightened. It is not acting as a solid object. So when you do actually make connection with an object, chance of injury is far increased. Now for our forefist, we have to understand what the point of focus is for our punch. It's not just you throw it out and you hope to make a connection. No, there is a correct focal point with which we have to aim. So when we have our forefist ahead of us, your main point of focus should be this center line in between your two main knuckles. Line extending up here, line extending up here. Pretty much the center in between the two should be your focal point for your punch. Focusing too much on one single knuckle, you're beginning to lose some of your safety and security net in there, as all of the pressure is now on one individual bone versus in the center. Now, a very big key when we are executing a punch in Taekwondo is to make sure that our wrist is completely straight. We do not want a bent wrist, neither up nor down, for several reasons. First of all, having a bent wrist actually increases your likelihood of getting grabbed and being taken control of. If you have your arm out, wrist bent, very easy for someone to potentially grab a hold and now get you in some sort of a joint lock and take you down to the floor. You're in a compromised position to begin with. That's not something we want when we're doing a punch. We don't want to be on the back end on the floor as a result. Additionally, when we have our wrist bent, our attacking tools are no longer aligned, meaning now we're losing some of our potential power, either up or down. If it's down, we're hitting more at the top of the knuckles, we're losing our point of equilibrium, our center of power for the move. If it's upward, we're going to be connecting more with our little knuckles on the middle of our finger, or our long fist, essentially. And that's no longer correct. Simultaneously, at the same time, you increase your chance of personal injury exponentially. Punching down like this in a solid object increases your likelihood of a wrist sprain or a wrist break as you're making contact, and with that loss of equilibrium and power, it's going to force it down. Simultaneously, if you're doing it the other way, you have the potential to now sprain or break your wrist going back the opposite way. That is not a good thing either. Of course, if your wrist is straight, going in a straight line, your arm, your shoulder, your wrist, your forearm, everything is acting as one solid unit. Therefore, you are focusing all of your power correctly. Power is transferring through your hips, through the use of sine wave, up through your body, through the shoulder, up through the forearm, through the forefist, in a nice straight path, without deviation and without any compromised areas to personally injure yourself. Thank you for watching, and I hope this video was informative for you, learning about some of the basics of how to properly utilize a forefist when doing a punch in ITF style Taekwondo. Taekwon.